All right, here we go. Today we have Momodu Gondo. Gondo is a former detective for the Baltimore Police Department's Gun Trace Task Force, which was involved in one of the most shocking corruption scandals in Baltimore's history. As a member of the task force and later a key witness, he engaged in robbery, drug trafficking, fraud, and assisted friends in their heroin operation. The story is actually depicted in HBO's We Own the City. Gondo, welcome to Vlad TV.
Welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to shed some light on some things and definitely just lead by example. Like, pretty much honored and humbled to be here. Appreciate it.
Well, your family is from Sierra Leone.
Correct.
And they came over at what point?
This was early, back in like the 70s, yeah.
Okay, at that point, was Sierra Leone calm or was there conflict going on?
It was calm. It was calm back then.
Okay, so they came over here and they had you in the U.S.
Yeah, basically my parents migrated over here from Sierra Leone for education. They were big on education. My family currently, everybody has master's degrees. Schooling was the big emphasis like in our culture, so they came to America for the opportunity to just expand their education here in the U.S.
Okay, and your parents were together.
Correct.
And it was like a middle class, upper middle class family?
I would say middle class family.
So it's not like you were struggling.
Oh, not at all.
You didn't have to do anything to make ends meet. Your family was okay.
Not at all. Full transparency, I was actually spoiled. Parents really wanted me to go to school, gave me all the steps to go to a higher education, very disciplined. So yeah, I was pretty much, had a silver spoon in my mouth.
Okay, but by the time you get to high school, you're well off, but you have some friends that are actually in the drug game.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I was pretty much really sick. 96, I went to Northern Senior High School. I had Crohn's disease, so at that time, I was struggling myself with like my nutrition, my diet, and my overall health. But I did have high school friends at that time who weren't in selling illegal narcotics just yet. We were just friends at that moment.
Okay, so you go through high school and you have health problems with Crohn's disease. I guess your insurance wasn't paying for it at that point?
Yeah, at that point, insurance cuts off at like 22, 23, I believe so. So with no insurance, I actually became an EMT. I worked at Johns Hopkins Hospital as an IV therapist. And from there, got kind of bored with the job. And I had a colleague of mine, like a friend, and I seen him, I'll never forget this day. He had his uniform on, just graduated from Baltimore City Police Department, the academy. And he was like, hey, they called me Mike at that time. Mike, you might want to join BPD. You can make anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000 a year. And he was actually doing like part-time security work right across the street where I lived at. And at that time, I was in school. And just being under my family's tutelage, I was honestly just tired of my dad paying for me to go to school, paying for my car insurance, paying for my car, and I just wanted to be my own man. So once he told me that information, I took that opportunity and joined the police department.
Okay, so you joined the Baltimore Police Department, but you don't tell your parents that.
No.
So they're still giving you money, thinking you're going to school.
Yep, supporting me.
Yeah.
Supporting me.
So you're double dipping, basically.
Double dipping, I won't say double dipping. I think, honestly, my parents supported me on whatever I was doing, but as far as just in the culture, I feel, why would you go to law enforcement? Nobody in our family is in law enforcement. And to be honest, like, this is not even a conversation of, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Join any local type of law enforcement type of organization. It was just mainly school. That was the main context of like growing up.
Yeah, listen, I'm an immigrant myself, from Ukraine, what used to be Russia. My parents never talked about me going into law enforcement or anything.
Yeah.
Regardless of the rumors around me, it was never a real conversation. Okay, so now you're part of Baltimore Police Department, you're a rookie, and 2 months after graduating from the academy, a tragedy happens.
Correct.
What happens?
Get shot.
Okay.
So basically, around this time, this was 12/5/06. I actually have it tatted on my shoulder. I'll never forget this day. I was a rookie. Again, I was so naive, even filling out overtime slips, never even filled them out because I was pretty much taken care of by my family. I was in the process, learning the job, and then I was just gonna move out on my own. But this particular day, A particular person was running for office for governor, and it was unlimited overtime within BPD. So the funny thing about it is, this particular day I worked 2 shifts, my regular shift in patrol, and then I worked overtime shift. And I was so tired this particular day that actually a civilian called the police on me because I was actually asleep in the car. I actually fell asleep from working the first shift to working my second shift. So actually that shift was over, and I'll never forget, I had a blue LS 430 at the time, a Lexus, with like 22-inch rims at the time. That was just a new wave. And I walked to my car, and I was so physically drained. Normally I would take my vest off at my trunk and put it in the trunk, but I didn't this particular night. So I just paint a picture for you. I had my BPD vest on. All you can see is BPD. It was either on my left or my right of my neck, and I had my vest under it. All right, so I never took the turtleneck off. I just began to take the turtleneck off, put it back down, too tired, drove home. So while I was driving home, it's about 12 o'clock. I worked 8 to 4, then 4 to 12 shift. I went to a local carryout, Northeast Baltimore, called Stoko's. Everybody in Baltimore knows about Stoko's. It's open late, 2, 3 in the morning. Went there to get something to eat. Went there, got a cheesesteak. I'll never forget a chicken shrimp cheesesteak. Order it, took out some money out of my pocket. It was only $50, but it was like 25s and 10s. Paid for my food. Got in my car. I lived probably 5 minutes from Stoko's. Pulled up. I was actually dating somebody at the time, so I was sitting on the phone talking. And this is my neighborhood. This is where I wasn't born in Baltimore, but I knew these streets like the back of my hand. So as I'm sitting there on the phone talking to my girlfriend at the time, I see 2 guys like walking down the street. So immediately I'm just like, oh, what is this about? Hey, let me just call you back. So when I hung up the phone, I immediately got out of the car. And at this time, I had my departmental firearm on me. So just being in law enforcement, being a rookie, and just not being born in Baltimore, but being brought up in Baltimore, I got tough skin. You can mug me, you can look at me, tough, doesn't really mean anything to you. I can see that you're a threat. So they walked past me, the guy that shot me walked past me, mugging me, and I was tired, but he didn't do anything at that instant. So I was armed. I looked at it like, okay, they just walking by. So as I proceeded to actually walk in front of my car, because my house was to the right, something said, Mike, turn around. That's what I was calling myself back then. So as I turned around, the shooter was drawn. I can plainly see a .357 raising it at me about the point. So in my training, being in law enforcement, instantly I wanted to get close. So I got closer to him. I smacked the gun with my left hand and began to reach for my firearm that was on my right side and try to cut through behind the cars to turn around to engage him. As soon as I hit the gun and I began to reach, 3 shots, shot me 3 times point blank in my back.
Okay, but you're wearing your vest.
I was wearing my vest.
And the vest is double-sided, right?
Double-sided.
Okay. What did it feel like to get shot 3 times? With .357 Magnum, that's a
straight
pretty
point blank
big gun.
Vlad, I would say the shooting wasn't the hard part. I would say the recovery. But to answer your question, it felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. Just imagine yourself standing in the street and a Mack truck run over you. That's what it felt like.
Okay, so knocked the wind out of you and everything else like that?
Yeah, so when I got shot, I blacked out. So the impact of the gun, I ran. Where I got shot, I was actually further up the road, up on the sidewalk under this tree by my family's home. So I blacked out. So when I blacked out, the crazy thing is I woke up. I woke up from blacking out briefly, and all I can hear is the footsteps running. So as soon as I heard the footsteps, I tried to get up. Couldn't move my legs. So instantly, my mind just triggered, like, what the hell? So once my mind triggered, I just began to shoot where I heard the running. So I returned fire. I shot multiple rounds at where I heard the footsteps, and I can hear like their feet screeching, and I was so frustrated that I actually missed it. Like, I don't I'm not trying to speak violence or anything, but I know what to do in situations like that. And I felt if I would have engaged it properly, this never would have happened. And I was just so comfortable and so tired that it was just frustrating that I'm laying here and I wasn't on my P's and Q's as far as like watching over my back.
Well, according to your former partner, Jamel Ryan, he testified that this was actually due to a drug feud. You've heard this before?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, what do you say to that?
Absolutely false. My hands are not clean, but prior to getting in BPD law enforcement, I had colleagues or friends, which you know of, which the world know of, the whole Baltimore city knows about this, that were involved in illegal things. But me personally, my hands wasn't dirty till after the fact, as far as selling narcotics or taking money. That incident that happened on the Alameda outside my parents' home, the crazy thing about this is the guy that shot me was actually robbing people in another part of Baltimore, right? And even after the shooting, as I was laid in the hospital, I'm getting information from the street, from people calling me and coming to see me saying like, hey, you know, what do you want us to do? Like, this is not right. You good? I mean, like everybody know you're a stand-up guy. This wasn't, oh, AG, what you got going on? Or Mike, what you got going on? You got caught slipping. It was like, how did this happen to you? In the sense of like, why people are figuring out like, this guy's not involved in anything. Why would you do that? But the backdrop behind that is, even when Baltimore City Homicide was coming to talk to me, when I was in shock trauma hospital, I had more information than they had as far as my shooting, because people were telling me. And I can like fast forward a little bit, the individual who shot me, I'm never gonna say his name, but the individual that shot me, he was actually locked up with somebody that knew my co-defendant on this case prior to us getting locked up. And the exact thing that he said to his cellie, right, I never shared this, was I didn't know he was a Baltimore City cop. I thought he was a security guard.
Oh, okay.
Because if you look at me, I just have the blue uniform on, left or right of my neck. If you're not looking, but depending on the angle he's looking, he can't see BPD. So you just see me pay for a sub, take out $50, you look, you see the car, that's a move for me. This was nothing. I got followed home and I was selling illegal narcotics, and this was a hit from some drug trafficking type situation. Absolutely not.
Okay, because the shooter was later caught.
Absolutely.
But he was found not guilty.
Not guilty.
So he went to trial and he beat it?
Went to trial.
Were you there?
I was there.
So you took the stand, pointed him out?
Went to court. First time ever testifying in my life coming out of the academy was my own attempt murder trial. As I sat there in that courtroom, whole family there, my mindset, I told nobody in my family to be there. Nobody. I sat there, this was my first time ever testifying. I didn't even know how to even properly go about this. The first day of trial, I'm there in a full suit. They looking at me, hey, gee, this is not a one-day thing, Gondo. This is gonna be all week. So I'm like, oh, wow, I don't have 5 suits, to wear for this. Yeah. I was just naive. I didn't know this. It was so surreal. So yeah, I actually testified in that court case. His family was there. It took about a week. Sat there with the verdict. I remember him walking in, looking at me. Oh, I don't know who that is, playing the game. And I had to sit there and just be stoic, pointing him out, just like I'm looking at you. Hey, Officer Gondo is the guy who shot you in the courtroom? Absolutely, right there. Pointed at him. After deliberation, came back, not guilty. Sitting there in the courtroom, Vlad, seeing his family high five. High five.
Okay, well, explain to me how a police officer gets shot and a police officer testimony is considered superior to a regular citizen's testimony, because you're basically an expert.
Exactly.
Right? So you have an expert testimony as the victim, you're pointing the finger saying this guy shot me. Where is the reasonable doubt?
Right, the reasonable doubt came from, and I'll never forget this, and I only found this out from a juror. So after the case, and this is where this whole transition of me with this whole G money and the tattoos and the swag, and it just came about me. I'll never forget, it was outside. His defense walked up to me, gave me a little song and dance, and they tell you this in the academy. hey, Gondo, wish you the best, sorry about this. Shake her hand. The juror runs right up to me. Juror's got, never forget this. Hey, I just want to say I'm sorry. So in my mind, I'm like, what are you sorry about? He said, they pressured me. I said, what do you mean they pressured me? He said they wanted to go home. They didn't want to sit here and deliberate on this anymore. They didn't want to come back next week because I would have made it a hung jury. Basically, because what they didn't understand was, Vlad, when I'm parked on the Alameda where my family lived at, where I lived at, resided, it was a hill. So as the individual who shot me was coming down, he's taller than me. But in actuality, if we stand side by side, I'm taller than him. So when I gave my initial report, I said that he was taller than me. So they said without the firearm they didn't recover the firearm, and based on my testimony saying that he was taller than me, and there may have been some other discrepancies, they came back with not guilty. And he looked at me and he said, hey, I'm sorry. I understand. They forced me, and Vlad, God is my witness. The next day, I went to work, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. Nobody came up to me and said, hey, let me walk you through this. Gondo, let me talk to you. How do you feel? I just saw the whispers within the department.
Because basically they thought that you accused an innocent person of the shooting?
I don't want to misspeak on that. What I got from it was they didn't have enough physical evidence.
Yeah.
My testimony alone, without them having the actual firearm, wasn't enough to convict the individual.
All right, so there was some reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Did you ever run into that guy again?
Never.
Never. Okay. All right, so you get shot and you're temporarily paralyzed for a while.
Absolutely.
So you have to go through a whole rehab process. Was there a worry that I may never walk again?
Yeah, it was a worry when I was on the ground.
Yeah.
And I shot back. And I tell people close to me, after I shot those rounds at the two individuals, I shot 3 or 4 rounds in the air out of frustration. I was just so mad because I was paralyzed. And I just knew the magnitude from having a background in the medical field, like how this could possibly be. And even when they came and did the consult, when the ambulance came to get me, they were doing a consult saying basically I have a 23, 24-year-old male paralyzed. And I cussed them out, like, no, I'm not, pick up my leg off the gurney. So it was very traumatic for me.
I mean, are you fully recovered from that, or is there still some?
Yeah, so after the rehab, I did actually begin to walk, but I currently have drop foot, which I have an AFO on my left leg. And I was working the whole time within BPD with this brace on my leg.
Got it.